That might be bad.
All right, welcome back to OpenLine tonight. We are talking about finding a job, getting a better job, and that's where we're going to jump right in with Matt, our career advisor tonight. You already have a job, but you want a better job. You say this is the time to do that.
It is.
Why?
It's a bit like there's timing. It's like this is also probably the time to sell your house and buy.
True.
It's time to upgrade. There's times and there's cycles. It's kind of a sine curve, and we're at the top of that sine curve. And you know, I would say just kind of mentally, you don't want to look back in 3 years and go, man, that was the time when the time was to get good. So, you should be looking. I would say, fundamentally, and it's more about how do you do it in a way that's smart.
Right.
So probably posting your resume out on Career Builder is probably going to be a little too public for most people. I think it is exactly, it's continuing the relationships with your network. I think fundamentally, as people move forward in their careers and as the dynamics of work change, your security is tied into your skill set and your network. So go out there and network. I'm forever having people reach out to me, hey, can we have coffee? Can we chat for 10 minutes? And I make the time because I know why they're reaching out. Hey, I'm looking for something else. If you're here for something else, it's always with that kind of, and of course we know that this is confidential, and that's fine. Of course, then, I will help you introduce you to other people, or if there's a specific opportunity. This is where, again, having the point of contact of the company it makes people feel better. It's probably a little safer in terms of your kind of knownness. But it comes with risk. Nashville's not that big a place. It's gotten bigger over the last 10 years. But when you kind of segment into industries, I'm forever surprised people who interviewed somewhere else. And I'm like, how do you know that?
Yeah.
It just is kind of hushed emails, if you will.
Is it always a bad thing? Because sometimes you might want it to get back to your boss, maybe become more valuable, or is it like you don't want to do that?
That's a hand to play. I don't know how many people would be audacious enough to do it. I think you'd probably be better off kind of playing a little closer to the vest. I think that's, I've always been in situations like if you turn in your notice to your boss, you want to be a little surprised by it. Now at that moment, if they offered a counter, I would say very, very rarely should you. Because you've kind of put them on notice that you are looking, and so they've done research that say if you take a counter offer that 90% of people are gone in 18 months anyway, because the reasons you're looking tend to be an underpinning of just not economics. Like, hey, if I'm unhappy, you give me $10,000 more, I'm probably going to be happy for about that much for another week.
Right.
And then remember, like, oh yeah, my boss was a jerk, or I'm working 90 hours a week, and all these things that aren't going to be solved by $10,000.
Yeah.
And so I would be apt to kind of say, once you commit, though, go do it, because then that's the other part of it. I've known too many people get excited about it, and they go interview 2 or 3 places, and they didn't get the job, and they kind of retreat back.
It's like, oh, well, maybe this is all I can do. I know this job. I'm good here.
I'm good here. I'm known here. I've kind of convinced myself again that it isn't as bad, and maybe it's not. I have no idea. It's situational, but I've found that when people have finally steeled themselves that it's time to go, they need to commit the time. It's networking. It's going, hey, I'm going to go out. I'm not just going to eat at my desk. I'm going to go meet a former coworker, or we're going to have coffee at 7 in the morning. It's going to take work. I think that's fundamentally what keeps people in jobs they don't like. It's just work.
Yeah,
they don't want to have time to do it.
You already have a job, and then you got to commit more time and energy to a job that maybe you will get or maybe you won't.
That's right. And you're carving out time from something else, family or whoever else. So that's tough, and that's why I think a lot of people stay. There's something like 70% of people somewhere I saw that would say that if the right job came to them right now, they would leave. It doesn't work that way for most people. I know very few people who just get a job because somebody else called them up and said, hey, what are you doing? Oh, I'm unhappy. Let's go.
Yeah. Or you'd be perfect for this position. Do you want it? Yeah.
That's right. It doesn't happen as much as you might think.
Okay, I'm going to ask you in a second, where do you look for those jobs? So first we have Jane on the line. Hi, Jane. Thanks for being with us tonight. Go ahead with your question.
Hi, I was kind of wondering what the best way is to start off your cover letter. I feel like every time I write one, it says, hi, I saw this job and I want it, and here's why. But I just feel like it's so impersonal. Is there a better way to start off a cover letter?
Who doesn't hate writing that cover letter?
And listen, if there was 10 recruiters here right now and we raise our hands, 5 of us don't read the cover letter to begin with. I don't want to be defeating. Yeah, I don't read cover letters. That being said, do them.
Okay.
I think there's what I like to see. To me, if you read your cover letter, do the same with anything you write. How many sentences start with I? And I get this is a first-person narrative about you for this job, but rethink the way you. Since it drives me nuts and lots of people nuts if like all 8 sentences again. I have this work history, and I saw this job, and I want to apply to this, and this is why. And 2, kind of, I think, bullet point summary, your history, but also be thoughtful of the job itself. I mean, there's the other thing. Too many people template the thing out.
Right.
If you're going to write one, which you, by the way, you should. I'm not telling you not to. You should keep it short. Don't ever, I mean, I think anything above a paragraph in length, a few sentences, isn't going to get read anyway. What I really like to see on cover letters are things that are like obviously needs to be explained. Like, this job's in Nashville, so it's based in Nashville, and your address is Louisville. Well, it could say, hey, relocating with husband's job. So I don't want to have to ask that, because there's lots of reasons I don't want to ask, but you need to tell me things. So I look at them to address things that may look a little weird. But I mean, I look at 3 or 4 bullet points if it's a sales job, exceeded quota for the last 6 quarters kind of stuff. But I mean, the cover letter isn't going to get you. I read the cover letter just so I can get to the resume. And the resume is going to tell you the narrative as to whether I'm going to pick up the phone and call you and set up a time.
So just keep it short. Focus
Sweet,
more on
the role and them and what they're trying to accomplish, not what you're trying to accomplish.
Okay.
I know by the fact that you're applying for this job that you're interested in this job. So I don't need a sentence that says, I'm excited to see this opportunity for a blah, blah, blah. Well, I mean, it's kind of a waste of space.
Okay.
And also, I don't think it separates you. Now, I would say if I had to go really figure out a cover letter, I'd go Google the word "great cover letters" and see what other people have written. It's much easier to lift and edit what other people have done than stare at a blank sheet of paper and come up with something that's inspirational, because that's not how I write.
Yeah. Jane, I'm glad you called in, because I loathe those cover letters.
Yeah.
Always hated them. I appreciate the phone call, and you know, I've always kept mine really short, because I'm like, is somebody really reading them? So now I don't feel so bad about that, because I was like, maybe they're going to think I'm a slacker because I didn't write a whole page.
I've never put a lot of thought into them. I mean, I look at thousands of resumes a week. I don't put a lot of thought into it. So
that is good to hear. Okay, we were talking about finding a job, going for the job, maybe even when you have a job. Where do you look? What are the best places to look now?
So places that jobs are posted. Indeed has got to be the number one place I would go. So Indeed is fundamentally an aggregator, like a Google of job boards, and they don't just look at
Indeed.com.
Yeah, INDEED. But they don't just look at Career Builder, which I think they do scrape. It's all these employers' job boards that, and even all the way down to really small companies will aggregate their positions on Indeed. Google is actually the number one place that job seekers go look, so it's amazing. So just go to Google and say Nurse, Nashville, Tennessee, and that's like a great place to start. And then, you know, I don't have any problem. If you're sitting here and do the work, look on Monster and Career Builder. They're kind of secondary and tertiary in terms of importance, but there's stuff there. And then lastly, a lot of small and medium-sized companies where we've all heard that's where jobs are created. They don't spend the time, energy. They don't know to post it out there. Boy, those are the jobs that are probably really good opportunities. They tend to probably not be as specific and kind of exactly what they're looking for. They'll get some wiggle room, particularly if they like you. Those are the ones you got to network like crazy to find, because I guarantee you right now there's a company in Nashville that has 50 employees that probably is looking for whatever it is you do.
Right.
It's just there's a lot of noise between them and you, and you've got to figure out who those companies are. I mean, you can kind of figure out a list of companies any number of ways, but that's really the trick. And that's really where really good opportunities are, these kind of small and medium-sized companies, and they're not advertising broadly on Indeed or Career Builder or wherever. That's going to be I met with this person for coffee, and that person said this, and that person, and you wind up somewhere you didn't even know you're going to begin. So that's the work.
Okay, let's go back to the resume. Since you say the cover letter, you got to do it, but not so important. That resume becomes key then. What are the things that you like red flag tossing that resume in the trash?
So I don't think a lot of recruiters are that abusive. Now, obviously misspelled words. Misspelled words makes a lot of sense. I think the career summary, like a lot of people will put an objective on the top of their resume. Again, it kind of falls in that, like, I know you're applying for this job, so don't use the best real estate in your resume to tell me what I already know, which is you're applying for this job and you're really excited about it. That's wonderful. Or apply my skills and abilities to the best of whatever. I mean, it's kind of cheesy stuff. And I would say use that area as a professional summary of 3 to 5 bullet points that really highlights what you're good at.
Okay.
Embed what numbers you can in that. I mean, some jobs are have more affinity towards kind of measurement than others, but whatever measurement you can put in there that makes you look awesome, that's where I'd put that. And then I'd get right into reverse chronological. There's some people who still do these kind of, they call them functional resumes, so they don't, let's discount where I've worked and when I worked there and how long I worked there, and hey, they look at all the requirements of the job and they line themselves up against it. It's a weird resume to get. Don't put your picture on your resume. I can't imagine. It's weird. I get resumes with social security numbers still and spouses' names. It's a bizarre thing. That will date you.
Yeah,
it tends to be an older person thing. But just, I mean, keep it to the point. That's the other thing. Is it does 2 pages is fine. 6 pages is a bit much. I get it. You're important. You do great things, but get it down to 2 pages because we're not going to read beyond that. And then deciphers, the things that decipher goofy titles. Companies have gotten more clever. Chief whatever, chief happiness officer. I don't have any idea what that is. I would say leave that title and then in parentheses put HR manager. Whatever that is, and spell out. And the only other thing I think you should spend time doing is making it as clear as you possibly can that the job they're looking to fill is you. So one way to do that is most of the times job descriptions are written in the order of importance. So what they're looking for. So if you've done that stuff and on your resume it's a little out of order, do yourself a little favor, put it in the order in which they have it. They will at least highlight where you are, or kind of have some alignment. Okay, when we talked about the things that cause you to throw it out, and you've touched on it a bit, but let's flip that mindset. Things that you go, whoa, okay, I definitely want to call this person. I'm back to, who do I call back with the most urgency? Maybe is another way to ask that question. Yeah. If an executive has referred you, I'm going to call you within that day, bar none. If someone that I know and trust refers me, I'm going to call that person because it's a good use of my time. So the guy in the recruiting seat, it's a good use of my time to call people that are referred. Beyond that, there's really nothing on paper. If you have, that's the thing. I think a lot of people misconstrue, can I do the job versus I'm the best qualified to do the job. They'll see a job posted online and go, I can do that. I have no doubt you can. But also 500 other people are saying, I can do that. That's not my job as an employer. It's not the 80% can, it's who's the 100% who can do it best. And there's a bridge, and then people get really frustrated about it. They'll see a job and they tunnel vision, and they forget a million other people see that job and go, I can do that. And so the employers really look at who can do it best. So whatever you can do to articulate, this is why I'm an ideal fit for this, in writing is much better than those folks who just say, hey, I can do this job. Right. Okay, good tips. Yes, it does. We're going to take another quick break. Love to hear more of your phone calls and questions. I love Jane's questions, so go ahead and give us a holler during this break. 615-737+ is the number to call. We're coming right back.